5 seconds to go. Start. Further, so far as the judgment cited by the respondents in Civil Appeal number 331 of 2014, we are of the view that the same has no application on the facts of the present case, because the appellants in that matter are nowhere connected or concerned with the appellants in the present batch of cases as contended by the appellants. In that matter, the aggrieved persons have not challenged the acquisition proceedings, rather, they accepted the acquisition but filed references for enhancement of compensation. The appellants therein have accepted the compensation in the year 2001 itself after the passing of the award, and their possession have been taken in the year 2001 itself by the authorities concerned, whereas in the present batch of appeals, the appellants are still in possession and they have not accepted any compensation for their acquired land. Secondly, the impugned judgment in the present appeals is 2 years after passing of the impugned order in CA number 331 of 2014. Therefore, the impugned judgment of CA number 331 of 2014 is totally different from the impugned judgment in the present batch of matters and are in no way connected to each other. After referring to the aforesaid decisions with reference to the facts and circumstances of the case on hand, we are of the view that physical possession of the land belonging to the appellants have neither been taken by the respondents nor compensation paid to them, even though the award was passed on 6th August 2007 and more than 5 years have lapsed prior to date on which the Act of 2013 came into force. Therefore, the conditions mentioned in section 24(2) of the Act of 2013 are satisfied in this case for allowing the plea of the appellants that the land acquisition proceedings are deemed to have lapsed in terms of section 24(2) of the Act of 2013. The said legal principle laid down by this court in the case of Pune Municipal Corporation and other cases referred to supra with regard to the interpretation of section 24(2) of the Act of 2013 are applicable to the fact situation in respect of the land covered in these appeals for granting the relief as prayed by the appellants in the applications. From the aforesaid decisions, the legal position that emerges is that when a repeal of an enactment is followed by a fresh legislation, such legislation does not affect the substantive rights of the parties on the date of suit or adjudication of suit unless such a legislation is retrospective, and a court of appeal cannot take into consideration a new law brought into existence after the judgment appealed from has been rendered, because the rights of the parties in an appeal are determined under the law in force on the date of suit. However, the position in law would be different in the matters which relate to procedural law, but so far as substantive rights of parties are concerned, they remain unaffected by the amendment in the enactment. The High Court has overlooked the distinction between post and vacancy. If the requisite posts were already exhausted by direct recruits against the earmarked quota for direct recruitment merely because some vacancies occur, it would not be open to the aspiring candidates against the direct recruit quota to challenge the selection process commenced for the post of judicial officers by promotion through limited competitive examination. The cadre strength is always measured by the number of posts comprising the cadre. the right to be considered for appointment can only be claimed in respect of a post in the given cadre. The percentage of quota has to be worked out in relation to number of posts which form the cadre and has no relevance to the vacancy that would occur. This aspect has been glossed over by the High Court in the impugned judgment. Suffice it to observe that as no post for direct recruits existed as on 30th April 2008, the challenge to the selection process to fill up the vacancy by promotion through limited competitive examination at the instance of aspiring candidates by direct recruitment cannot be countenanced. The writ petition filed by such aspiring candidates, therefore, ought to have been dismissed by the High Court. Having said this, it must follow that the selection process of 2008, which has been completed pursuant to the liberty given by this court by way of interim order, is proper and has become final. On this finding, the challenge in the companion writ petitions to the selection process commenced for the year 2010 does not merit interference, in that the vacancy position as on the date of the notification, that is 4th November 2010, for commencing selection process in 2010 were only up to 8 vacancies for appointment by direct recruitment from the bar. None of the writ petitioners before this court claimed to be within the first 8 merit list candidates. The petitioners were placed at serial number 9 onwards. The first 8 candidates having been appointed, the selection process for 2010 would get exhausted and considered as complete, merely because the names of the writ petitioners appear in the selection list. They do not acquire any indefeasible right in getting appointed. The vacancies have to be filled up in conformity with the extant regulations. The selection process in which the writ petitioners participated was commenced on the basis of the said notification for 8 notified vacancies, and appointments have been made from the meritorious candidates. That selection process must be treated as having come to an end. The fact that the notifications for subsequent selection process issued by the High Court notifying different or higher number of posts for direct recruitment can be of no avail to the selection process of 2010. That changed position is ascribable to subsequent period on the basis of availability of post for direct recruits. Similarly, the fact that one candidate amongst the appointed 8 candidates after due selection subsequently resigned, no right can accrue to the writ petitioners on completion of the selection process of 2010. Stop.